Well, happy Friday, everyone. So honored to have you here with myself and with our mystery guest. Such a mystery, Kelly Mount on Harmonize to Energize. And while Terry is on holiday, I am honored to be here supporting him as the host. And so grateful to have all of you here. And for those of you who may be new to JIN SHIN JYUTSU, JIN SHIN JYUTSU is a harmonizing art where we hold specific acupressure points on the body, which we call safety energy locks. And you utilize your hands as jumper cables to hold those safety energy locks to create a harmonious pathway that happens throughout your body. And so happy to have you here. And I am going to turn the mic over to Kelly Mount. She is one of our newer instructors for JIN SHIN JYUTSU. And Kelly and I have known each other from way back, and it's an honor to serve her and be with her in this space and watch her grow and be with us. And I know that she will have a lot to share and a lot for all of us to learn. So with that, thank you so much, Kelly, for being here.
Thank you, Beth. A tremendous thank you to you for being a co-host while Terry is traveling and away. And I'm so grateful to Terry also for his Harmonize to Energize program. It's so wonderful to be able to share our testimonials about the art of JIN SHIN JYUTSU all over the world. And in addition to being a member of the faculty of the Mary Burmeister JIN SHIN JYUTSU Institute and Mary JIN SHIN JYUTSU Spirit, Mind, Body, I'm also a faculty member for Adele Lease and JIN SHIN JYUTSU for Your Animal Companions. And so I thought it would be fun today just to share a little bit about the use of JIN SHIN JYUTSU with animals. And so in particular, I wanted to talk about safety energy locks 1 and 2. And I do have I just want to make sure I have the ability to screen share. I do have some slides that I wish to share. Thank you, Beth.
You're welcome. I'll see you at the end.
Perfect. I'll see you soon. So I wanted to talk about safety energy locks 1 and 2. Safety energy lock 1 is our prime mover. And this page is from Mary Burmeister's Self-Help Book 2 on page 12. And she says, all creation proceeds from unity. And just for a moment, I would love for everybody to find their safety energy lock 1. And it's just on the inside of the knee. You're welcome to hold both ones or high inside the inner thigh, and you may hold hands crossed or same side. And if either of these are uncomfortable, I know sometimes it's a little challenging to reach into your lap. You're welcome to hold either thumb, or you can hold at the bend of the elbows at safety energy lock number 19. And because 19, 1 plus 9 is a 10, 1 plus 0 is 1. It adds up to 1. So I like to give possibilities and options. And before we do a little self-help meditation, I just wanted to share these pages in Mary's self-help book with you, along with the page in Adele's animal book. So 1 came into the universe, meaning the prime mover, connecting the extreme height with the extreme depth. So 1 really helps us anytime we feel stuck in a rut, anytime we feel like we've lost the ability to move forward, to take a step forward, emotionally, physically, spiritually, digestively. 1 helps us to move out of anywhere that we're stuck. And so it also helps when we feel like we're operating in parts and pieces, when we feel discombobulated, or maybe we feel sometimes like our head isn't attached to our body. And 1 binds everything together again. It makes us, it helps us remember that we're one organism instead of parts and pieces. So Mary says in man, it connects the toes with the head, so the energy going up the back, and the head with the toes, the energy coming down the front. And this is how our breath moves. We exhale down the front of the body from our head to our toes, and we inhale up the back, receiving the breath of life. So Mary says, know myself it is. Therefore, by simply applying our hands, our thumb, our fingers, our fingertips, the palm or the back of the hands to our friend safety energy lock number 1, we can help recharge the rundown energy battery, help the front descending energy so that I can fully embody who I am, to know myself. Ones help abdominal distress, bloat discomforts, and it helps breathing and head discomforts. Oh, there we go. There we go. And it looks like maybe Rhoda is unmuted. So we can cross the hands again inside the knees or hold same side. And I put a photograph of Albie, the pig from Tamerlane Sanctuary, into my slide presentation because in number 2, Mary shows us that we can place a hand on the knee and a hand on the back of the hip. So another option is to place the left hand on the right knee, and we can place the hand on the hip at Safety Energy Lock 2. So sometimes when one is really stuck or locked up, it helps to hold the Safety Energy Lock, the next one that precedes it, Safety Energy Lock number 2. So you see on Albie where I'm holding 1 and 2 together. So let me just switch to the animal slides. Can everybody see Adele here? Perfect. So Safety Energy Lock takes us forward in life. So if you want to bring change to a situation, we hold both ones and we simply exhale. And here's Adele holding 1 on the inside of the knee and 2 at the hip of the horse. So again, Mary says all creation proceeds from unity. And I can share these with you from Thomas Merton. We are already one, but we imagine we are not. And what we have to recover is our original unity. So I'd like to go ahead and invite everyone to hold their ones as we talk about oneness and unity. I'm going to join you and hold mine. Oneness of the divine, it may be given 1,000 names, such as the primary cause, God, energy, I. All that is created has itself this oneness. All things share the same breath, the beast, the tree, the man. The air shares its spirit with all life it supports. True communication is communion, the realization of oneness, which is love. Let's see. There we go. Peace comes within the souls of me when they realize their oneness with the universe, when they realize it is really everywhere. It is within each one of us. So here we go. The prime mover. For our animal companions, it helps panic, shock, choking, breathing, nervous discomforts, digestion, bloat, obesity, mental and emotional balance. And we simply cross the hands inside the knees. And on our larger animals, sometimes that's not so efficient or comfortable. So we use the adaptation from Mary's self-help book of holding the 1 and the 2 together. So I'm going to come out of my share screen so that we can experience a little oneness and unity together. And over the course of the last year, I have an online study group called Breathe and Receive, where we study Mary Burmeister's 3 self-help books. And there were a group of us who decided it would be fun to hold the one every day for a year for 1 hour. And this was cumulatively throughout a 24-hour day, where we might hold 10 minutes, 20 minutes, as long as it added up to an hour every day. And our group had such incredible stories to share. Many people, sometimes when our ones open and guide us, they move us again out of these situations where we're stuck. And for me personally, my experience was that I began to see the unity in all things, the unity everywhere, in numbers, in myself, in relationships. You know, sometimes you look at the clock and everything is all ones. And so it was really an experiential year of turning away my focus from right or wrong, left or right, night and dark, kind of this polarity, exhale and inhale, and coming back to a true place of understanding what it is to be one with everything, both my individualized and unique expression of the source and the connection that we all share. So I'd like for everyone, just for a few moments, to experience this kind of unity. So I've got my hands crossed inside my thighs, and I'd like to invite you to close the eyes, bow the head, be the smile. That smile sparks the light in the heart. And with every beat of our heart, we can begin to feel unity. As the blood circulates through all of our cells and our tissues and returns to the heart again, we can begin to feel this unifying principle, connecting the extreme height with the extreme depth, and moving us forward, spirit, mind, and body. So I would like for you to draw your conscious awareness within yourself. What are you feeling today? Are you feeling separate from yourself or separate from others? Separation is an illusion. Each of us is interconnected. Do you feel tension, discomfort, or even pain? Where has your cosmic stardust settled today? Each of us is made up of stardust that is billions of years old. We share this same ancestral inheritance. And sometimes life shakes us up like the snow globe, and our cosmic star dust settles in the creaks and crevices of our body. However, we can remember that with each harmonizing, exhaling breath, we can unload all dirt, dust, and greasy grime. And we can inhale and receive, renew, and regenerate. Exhaling, letting go from our head to our toes, and inhaling and receiving from our toes to our head. This perfect oval of the breath is our blueprint, our envelope. It surrounds us. It breathes us into being and maintains and sustains us throughout our lifetime. And we can connect to this source in every breath we receive. So for a moment, I'd like for us to sit in sacred silence and stillness and receive the breath of life. Before you open your eyes, I'd like for you now to simply relax the hands and to check back in with yourself. Has your cosmic stardust moved? Do you still feel the same tension or discomfort you were feeling before you received a few breaths? If so, simply say thank you to yourself for having the awareness of where we have more homework with self-help and breath. Remember, there's no attachment to judgment. It's simply how I am in this breath. Mary says, in this breath, I am forever new. And in the breath, all manner of things can begin to transform and change. So maybe your innate intelligence has a message for you, or it has revealed some place where you could use more unity or connection. Or maybe you experience this connection between each of us breathing and receiving together. And whenever you're ready, feel free to open the eyes. So it is such a sacred opportunity to share breath together with one another. And I always feel like there's something special, a special connection that happens when we receive the breath of life together. So I would like to share with you stories about using the ones with animals. And sometimes physical movement with animals can be a challenge. You know, they walk on all fours or twos, depending on the species. And we stand upright in the world. And so sometimes our animal companions can really use the help of Safety Energy Lock 1. It is Safety Energy Lock 1, that bend and articulation at the knee that helps us to move forward. And Safety Energy Lock 2 is like our realignment specialist or our personal osteopath. And so between the two, we're able to move forward in harmony and balance. And I have a fun video to share with everyone from a sanctuary that I presented a class recently called Tamerlane Sanctuary in Montague, New Jersey. And the image that I showed of Albie the pig was from there. And Albie had recently had an injury from another animal on his hip. And so he was a little sore and having a little difficulty moving about. And I had just come from an enclosure with another pig, and I was walking through this courtyard with all the goats. And Albie was in his pasture to himself, and he started really loud, like, and he really drew my attention. He was talking to me. He says, here, over here, I can use help over here. So I went into the enclosure with Albie, and I just had this really magical experience. He laid right down and presented the side with the scarred area for me to give him a flow. And so I went right into that 1 and 2, and we stayed with that for a while. And then he stood up and he laid back down to give me his other side. It was just really a magical moment. And so I included that picture for you all to see Albie. And of course, you'll see it again when I share the video. And just last night, I welcomed a new foal into the world, a baby boy, a colt. And his mother, the mare, was a former show horse of mine who's retired, and this was her first foal. And so I went to the farm yesterday to see her, as she hadn't had the colt yet. But it was obvious she was in distress. So I held the 1 and the 2 together. And magically, a few hours later, they said that she delivered smoothly and has been the best mama. Instinctually, she has known exactly what to do. And so I didn't have any pictures yet to add to share with you with the new colt, but it's just amazing how something so simple can have such a transformative and profound effect. And so I'd be happy to answer your questions today if you have questions about using the art of JIN SHIN JYUTSU with your animal companions. But I'd be happy to share the video with you of our time at Tamerlane. So Beth, I think I'll start there, and then we can go to some questions if anybody has any. Let's see. Let me just get this enlarged and playing for everybody. So I thought that was fun, and I just wanted to share our experience with you and how powerful, sometimes we forget that all creatures, um, we each have a unifying aspect between all of us. We're not so separate. And so our animal companions love receiving JIN SHIN JYUTSU too. And this place in Montague Township, New Jersey, Tamerlane Sanctuary, is really a special place. And Adele is going to be teaching a 3-day animal class there again this September. And I'm also going to be out in Cave Creek, Arizona, April 21st through the 23rd to teach another 3-day animal class. So sometimes people come to the art of JIN SHIN JYUTSU because they're interested in helping their animal companions. And then it's amazing how sometimes that branches off into being with the art with human beings. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Beth, do we have any questions in the chat or any interest that people would like to hear about?
Yeah, so there aren't any questions right now, but if there's anybody who would like to ask Kelly a question, feel free to raise your hand, or even it's a small group, but you can unmute yourself.
I have a question.
Sure.
Hey Kelly, it's Liz. It's really nice to see you.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you. I when you were talking about Albie the pig, I think that was his name, that was injured. My service cut out. How did he get your attention? Did he squeal or grunt or?
Oh, yes, he started and he
Okay.
was really loud about it. So I was moving between the enclosures, and I was actually getting ready to go a completely different direction to check in on some of the students in class. And Albie just said, please, please come here. It was like he was waving a flag. Don't pass me by. And so I went right over to his enclosure. And the moment that I came in, he laid completely flat on the ground, and he presented with the side of his hip that he had injured by another animal. And so I immediately went into the 1 and 2, and we stayed there for quite some time. And then naturally he got up and he laid down on the other side and allowed me to continue. And so he received both sides. And it was just really a moment where you just felt such a deep connection. And oftentimes our animal companions are seen as something separate because they're a different species, but really they're not so separate from us as human beings. They have feelings and emotions, and the work that is being done in sanctuaries across the country and across the world is really amazing.
It's so rewarding, and I find with myself, oftentimes I feel like it helps me more than it helps the animal, though I know it helps us both.
Yes, well, sometimes our animal companions mirror what we have going on in our lives. And so they help us to see these aspects of ourselves that maybe we have blind spots for. And I always feel like our creatures are our greatest teachers.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
So we did have one question in the chat, which was from Diane V. Kelly, can you give us the contact info? And Diane, I'm not sure if you're Diana, if you're asking for Kelly's contact info for these courses.
So
Okay.
you can, Tamerlane Sanctuary is on social media, so you can find them on Facebook or Instagram. They're not difficult to find. They have a website, and it's spelled Tamerlaine. But if you'd like to look for a listing of upcoming classes, there are a couple of websites you can visit. The first is the new website for JIN SHIN JYUTSU Spirit, Mind, Body, and it is simply JIN SHIN JYUTSU spiritmindbody.com. And if you go to the website and you scroll down on the main page, you can see all of the class listings, or you can go to instructors and select my bio page, and you'll see my upcoming classes there, and you can register for the class in Cave Creek, Arizona there. However, if you're looking to register for the class in the fall at Tamerlane with Adele Lees, you can visit her website, which is www.jsjforyouranimal.com. And she has all of the animal classes listed there. And there is also a free animal study group. It happens every other Thursday, so twice a month. And again, you can register for those through her website at jsjforyouranimal.com. I think I have one coming up in May that I'll be hosting.
Any other questions for Kelly? Comments?
I don't know if anybody who's in the room today has had the experience of holding their ones for a year, but we'd certainly welcome if you have an interest in sharing with us. It can be a very profound movement. And if you would like to share your experience of simply holding the ones during our breath meditation, did you feel more rooted or grounded or centered within yourself? Did you have an awareness where maybe there were spaces or places where you have a little homework? So I always like to hear feedback from what did you experience with your self-help?
Well, if no one else wants to share, I'll share. About, I don't know, 4 years ago with my mastermind study group. We held our ones for a year, and actually every year we hold something else for a year.
Love it.
And I loved holding my ones. It was so, I don't even know that I can articulate how profound it was. And I really wish that I had kept going, because I felt so different and so much better, that I even lost interest, if you will, in what we were doing for the next year, because I missed holding my ones so much.
You know, it's funny that you should say that, Beth, because that was my experience also. I didn't continue consecutive days for an extended period after the end of the year, but once the year was up, I did still continue to hold the ones for a little while because it just felt so natural. I had been in that rhythm for the year, and it's like the body was expecting me to keep holding. So, and I still find myself, and even now when I'm sleeping, you know, kind of in a fetal position with the knees together, it's like I have such a different conscious awareness of my safety energy lock 1 than I did before. And I love when I ride my horses, you know, the place where I connect and contact them sitting in the saddle is through safety energy lock 1. You know, that's the primary point of contact, except for my seat in the saddle, with my body. And you just feel you move forward in unity with them. And it's such a graceful experience. And I feel like I really, I don't know, you just honor yourself differently after a year with the ones. You just feel so connected to everything.
This is Diana, and I suffered from painful kidney stones and needed 3 surgeries and a horrifyingly painful stent that was worse than the kidney stone. And I had a JIN SHIN practitioner come to the house, and she was thrilled to do so because she and her husband both had stones and the stent. So she held the ones a lot. And I always loved the psychology behind it, accumulation, letting go, cleaning out your kidneys. So sometimes if I feel like a pack rat, or I'm looking at my desk, or there's clutter, or I'm emotionally holding on to something, then I hold the ones, kind of thinking, okay, I'm letting go.
Bravo, Diana. And interestingly, we share something in common. Sometimes I also experience the project of kidney stones. And I will say that the ones are one of the primary safety energy locks that I hold. And I'll share with you what I use. But, you know, I will lay in the fetal position with my hands clenched inside the high ones, because it helps get the movement going when you start to feel that stone drop and kind of get stuck. And it also helps the nausea. You know, anytime I experience kidney stones, sometimes nausea, difficulty urinating. And so I go back and forth between holding the ones, and then when the pain starts to ratchet up, I will hold the low 8 and the 5 and 16 together of the side of pain. So if the stone is coming down on the left side, I cross my left ankle over the right knee, and I hold the outside of the left leg along the calf or the front of the shin. And the pain, as it comes down the body, will start to mimic itself in the lower leg. And you can kind of hold a place, and you'll know in the moment where it hurts is where to hold. And then when we hold the inside and the outside of the ankle together, the 5 and 16, it's like a natural aspirin for the body. So once the pain begins to diminish a little and I feel a little movement with the stone, I'll go back to laying on my side. And then as the pain starts to ratchet up again, I'll go and hold the low 8 with the 5 and 16 again. And so I go back and forth with this dynamic 1 and low 8 and 16. And one time I thought for sure I was going to have to go to the ER because it felt like bees were stinging me in my
Yes.
parts.
Mm.
And you know that the pain would ratchet up and diminish. The pain would ratchet up and diminish.
Yes.
By the time I woke up the next morning, I passed a stone the size of a black peppercorn. So, you know, of course, when we need medical attention, we should go to the ER. I managed, and my experience the last couple of times whenever I have this project, I've been able to work with it with my self-help, and it's been really interesting. And you also touched on something else that I wanted to mention is that we store sometimes our mental, emotional, our uh, our attitudes in the body, and sometimes our invisible energy becomes manifest in a myriad of ways. Stress and anxiety has funny ways of presenting itself in the body. And I think for me, when I experience a lot of stress and anxiety, these tend to be the times when I experience kidney stones. And there's also this part of me that recognizes that if I'm creating this energy into matter, that I also have the ability to dissolve it and move through it. And so you kind of touched on that, Diane, and I just wanted to reiterate that's my sense too, that if we have the power to create something in our bodies, we also have the power to break it down and to regenerate and to clean it up. And that is the gift of JIN SHIN JYUTSU. And Mary, I'm repeating a quote that I heard in class from Mary. She says, "What mankind creates in a lifetime, the creator can undo in a single breath." So as long as we have a breath in our body, we do have the ability for transformation and change. And that is really the gift of the art of JIN SHIN JYUTSU and connecting us back to the breath and to the true nature of who we are.
Yeah, thank you for sharing all that.
Yeah, thank you.
Kelly, you're in a great outfit to show the various ways people can hold their ones.
Yeah.
So crossed, uncrossed, and then not using your hands, but just putting our knees together.
So yes, one option is just simply placing the knees together, connecting the ones. We can place the hands inside the ones or the high ones. Sometimes crossing the hands has an efficiency in helping bring the energy down, although you can also hold the same side if it is more comfortable. Another option is holding the bend of the elbows, because 19, 1 plus 9 is 10, and 1 plus 0 is 1. So these are also options that I gave some of our study group members in their year of holding the ones. Also, holding the thumb is a facilitator for Safety Energy Lock 1. But we had a woman that was recovering from a double mastectomy, and she had severe lymphedema. And so crossing her arms and holding the insides of her knees for an hour, it was too uncomfortable for her to do. And rather than have her not have the experience with us, with the group, I gave her holding the 19s or holding the thumb as a substitute. And there were times when I certainly made that substitution myself during the year. Sometimes, the body changes and what is comfortable or uncomfortable changes. And rather than not receive self-help, we can be our own testimony. And Mary said, this art is for me, personally for myself. And on any given day, I can adapt my self-help so that I can use it. And when we have nothing available to us, if we don't have our hands free, we can always use one hand, and we can simply return to the breath. Master Jerome Morai said the ultimate healer is first the breath, then the fingers, and then all the rest. So we always have the breath. We can come back into that rhythmic exhaling and inhaling breath, and the transformation continues. And it's really interesting. Each breath we receive, we feel the effects of 20 minutes from now. So if we start to feel sluggish and fatigued, instead of grabbing the Coke or the candy bar, we can drop into 4 groups of 9 conscious exhaling and inhaling breaths, or 36 breaths. And the breath we receive, 100% goes directly into the brain. From here, 80% remains. As the breath travels, it goes down the spine, and at thoracic vertebra number 3, it enters the lungs. From the lungs, 5% of the breath that we breathe in travels to take care of the rest of the body. So the breath is so important for our overall health and vitality. You know, what happens when we cease to breathe? We cease to exist. So the quality of our breath has a direct effect on the quality of our life. So every breath we breathe, we have the opportunity and possibility to really harmonize ourselves.
We did have a question in the chat. Could you also hold your high 19s?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Mary says there are no rules. And the high 19s opens safety energy lock 10 on the back and 13 on the chest. So which help to open up the heart and lungs and are the seat of our respiratory system in the chest. So holding the high 19, it still has this unifying connection with the breath. So, absolutely.
I really liked that suggestion and that reminder that you can just hold with one hand. Right? Sometimes we feel so compelled to use both hands, but I don't know, maybe you're holding a book in one hand and you could put one hand in between your ones and sandwich them, that one hand with your knees, and you've got your palm and the back of your palm covered.
Yes, you know, Mary gives an example in the self-help books of if you're on the phone, use your free hand.
That's right. The old phone.
And there was, I don't think he was in the video, but there was a cow named Harold at the Tamerlane Sanctuary. And he, at 3 months old, escaped from an industrial farm and survived alone in the woods until a young girl was able to befriend him and work with him until he could be given a permanent home at Tamerlane. And so he's still very shy and does not want to be touched. But one time he was standing up at the fence and watching all of the other cows receive JIN SHIN JYUTSU. And I was able to come up to the side of the fence and reach out with one hand and hold his safety energy lock too. And he allowed me to stay there for the longest time, but he would never allow touch with both hands. So I respected that he was only interested in receiving with one hand. And that was a big step forward for him in trusting a human being.
David, thank you. You've shared a couple of things in the chat here. He said, I felt drawn to hold my ones when I first started JSJ, and I no longer have chronic constipation after that, as well as I like to hold my opposite 1 and 19 at the same time.
Yes, we forgot to mention that. So thank you. So we can hold the 19 with the opposite 1, or the high 19 and the opposite high 1. And again, it helps to drain that energetic congestion from the chest and the back and the area that you hold the arm. So we can hold literally anywhere from the shoulder to the elbow and still be considered the area of 19 or high 19. So many possibilities. You know, our mind likes to limit everything and put us in a little box that says you can only do it this way. It has to be like this, you know. And we make things rigid. And JIN SHIN JYUTSU teaches us about releasing those rigid thoughts and returning to a place of flow.
One of the more profound stories I ever heard about holding the high ones, and over the years, I've heard so many, but this was a gal on Nantucket that had Lyme disease. And Mass General was in doing a study because there were so many cases of Lyme disease on Nantucket. And they came a year later and retested her titers, and her titers were completely gone. And they said, you had one of the highest titers of anybody, and we were planning on moving you into, and I may have some parts of the story a little, it's been a long time since I heard it, but we were planning on moving you into case study with treatment, and you have no titers, you show no signs. You know, what have you done? And she said, I held my ones for a year.
Wow.
And they're like, you what? I held my ones for a year. And that's what, you know, and that was one of the more profound holding the ones for a year story. And I always held that really deeply to remind myself the power and the simplicity of holding our ones through chronic scenarios.
Yeah. You know, Mary said that with the ones we could transform anything in our life. So.
Well, any other questions for Kelly? Questions, comments? You're welcome, Joe. She said, thank you so very much, Kelly and Beth and our animal friends.
Thank you, Beth, and thank you all of you, and thank you for hanging in there with us despite a few technical glitches. So we were grateful.
I did just hear from Terry, by the way,
Of course.
who said I just saw it. And I said, don't worry. I was quick on my feet. We figured something else out. So yeah, and thank you so much, Kelly, for sharing your beautiful animal wisdom with us and your beautiful JIN SHIN JYUTSU wisdom. It was wonderful.
Thank you. So